Well, hi. There's so many of you here. My goodness, I wasn't expecting this many. Welcome, welcome. Thank you all for joining us today for the LGBTQIA chit chat, or the How to Be Gay panel, as I've been calling it. As you can see, I am joined by these lovely folks, but if you do not know any of them, that is them up there for you to peruse. They are all fantastic people and content creators, so if you're ever looking for more people, check them out. So the vibe of this, I am the moderator. Don't know why I've been given this responsibility, but I have. That's Twitch's mistake. And basically, I'm trying to keep it very casual, very chill. It's just a bunch of friends hanging out, having a talk about being gay, as we do, on a regular, you know. The only thing gay people talk about. But what we will do, just to start, is I will introduce myself and we will work our way down, just so you all get to know us a bit more. So my name is Scott, or S Major, on Twitch and Twitter. Thank you. The ego is just increasing. So I am a gay content creator. I make mainly Minecraft, and I also organize MC championships. Thank you. Owen.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. My name's Owen, or Owen's Juice. I am a Minecraft content creator. I work for Nox Crew as their videographer, and I run the Outsiders SMP, which is a lore-based SMP. Very fond of that. Yes, you can have my mic. Oh, also, I'm bi. I forgot to mention that. Let's go.
Woo! Hello, I'm Shelby, also known as Shubble. I play Minecraft and other games on Twitch and on YouTube. I'm on Empire's SMP.
I love Empire.
And I'm asexual. Put this in the middle.
Hello, everyone. Hi. I'm TapL Harvey, also known as TapL or Harvey. I am a MCC participant, so thank you, Scott.
Yeah. Thank you. You're welcome.
And I also make content on YouTube and Twitch, and I'm also bisexual.
Hi. I'm Nikki, also known as Nihachu, and I kind of do everything on Twitch. I also participated in MCC before. And I'm bisexual.
Hi, I'm Ranboo, Ranboo Live, Ranboo Says Stuff, and I am a variety streamer who is also an MCC, so...
Oh my God!
Yeah. And I like guys, so...
Yeah! As you should. Well, one thing I didn't even realize until now is everyone on this panel has played an MCC at some point, so that's always a fun thing. Also, it's great because I was worried about filling time, but the amount you cheer for everything will fill that time up great. It's just every time one of us says something, cheer, we're sorted. Okay, so since this is a Twitch panel as well as a gay panel, I know, I think it would be good for us to go around and tell, all of us to tell our stories about how we found Twitch and what made us want to start streaming and such. So for me personally, I made a lot of YouTube content before. I've been doing that for a long time. And Twitch to me was just a way to sort of do a lot of off-camera work on videos, but also get to know my viewers and my audience and chat to you all a bit more. And suddenly kind of created a little community which was very welcoming and supportive, and it was a lot of fun. So.
Yes, I found Twitch a little bit into the first lockdown that happened in the UK. I needed some kind of creative outlet because I was going insane from living alone and not having anyone to talk to. I'm sure you can relate. And so started playing Minecraft online, as in streaming it, which was the first time I'd kind of done it publicly in my content creation career. And just started streaming it while having played it for about 10 years, because I came played it when it first came out in alpha, and just started doing hardcore, and then more and more people started tuning in, and then I became a writer of a series, and then MCCR happened, and it just kept going and going and going, and now I am here, sat in front of all of you. Hello.
I started on YouTube, and I've been doing that for about over 10 years, and just about 2 years ago, I decided I want to give streaming on Twitch a try. Luckily, actually, MCC was one of the things that drove me to go and stream on Twitch. And it is one of my greatest joys that I have been able to make a community where people who didn't feel like they had a place to fit in can find other people who feel like them.
So I started during middle school for me. Oh my goodness, that's like 7.5 years ago. But I started on YouTube and then streamed a bit on YouTube, but then I switched over to Twitch during post-COVID, during the lockdowns. And yeah, I'm glad I'm able to provide comfort for people, so yeah.
I also started a little before the first lockdown, like about half a year or maybe a year before that. And it just, like, I went on the Lover host and met all my friends. And that's how it kind of got big. And yeah, I'm also glad that I can provide comfort and fun streams to people.
I started like content creation in general in September of 2020. And I started on Twitch simply because I wanted to just like try it out. And then the community that I was able to develop from that, like literally like the second stream and everything was just so amazing that I decided to continue streaming on that. And I'm just really glad that like the community has now like evolved into what it has become, which is just really, really nice and it's really cool.
Yeah. Okay, to mix it up, just because this was getting a bit too straight for this panel, we'll start, next one, Ranboo, we'll start with you and we'll work this way. So obviously coming out is something that is a big part of being gay and it's something that we all do and everyone does in their own time. But I'd be interested to know what made all of you decide to come out to your audience and share that, because it is a very vulnerable thing to sort of put out into the internet and you risk a lot of people changing their opinions and things like that. So obviously what made you decide that you wanted to?
What made me decide initially was I was just kind of, I always had it in the back of my mind ever since like the beginning of content creation, where I was just like, this might be something that I do have to like say, this might be something that I will have to, you know, show, because streaming is essentially putting yourself into the public eye, right? And if you hide a huge part of yourself, it becomes very obvious and very stressful as well. So I decided that, you know, I would just slowly, you know, like act more and more comfortable, let's say, on stream until, like, honestly, I wanted to just, like, keep on making jokes and keep on making gay jokes. This is what I was comfortable with until someone called me out for it. And then I would pull the greatest, like, twist of fates in internet history and just say, oh, no, like, you're wrong for calling me out for this. And it worked, and I did it, and it was awesome. So...
I don't think I ever like officially came out to my chat, because I never came out to my family, I never came out to other people. It was always just a part of myself, and I genuinely believe that if someone doesn't accept me for the way that I am, then I don't care. So if someone asks me, I will say, yeah, that's me, I'm bisexual, I like women, but I don't really, yeah.
So for me, I came out through a tweet, but before that, before I was debating on tweeting that out, I actually did. I had this little process. I went on Reddit. This is something that I've never told anyone about, but basically, I went on Reddit because I was like, wait, what's the reason why people come out? Because I was debating in my head, and I went on, I made a throwaway account, and I went on r/LGBT and asked why, and someone was like, oh yeah, you could provide, if you like, let's say if you had an audience, if you were like a YouTuber, for example, then you could, so then I was like, oh, okay, I would like to do that. So then I came out.
I came out in my Anthony Padilla interview where he was asking questions about asexuality, and I had sussed out in the comments of a one previous to that someone asked him to do one, so I slid in the DMs so that was my moment of, I actually called it my debut. And the reason I did that, at that point, I had already come to terms with and knew about what asexuality was and decided for myself that's how I was. And then in the interview, I wasn't at a point where I needed to do it for myself anymore, but I wanted to do it so other people who felt like how I felt before, which was that I was different and broken and something was wrong with me, so that they could know that there is nothing wrong with you.
Yeah, I came out on a tweet about exactly 1 month ago. So this is my coming out anniversary. Wow. That was on my birthday, which was on the 16th, and it was kind of just like I think my audience had always kind of known, at least half of them had, because I'd kept making jokes about men that I found attractive on stream, and they were just like, this is very fruity for someone who isn't. And so I think a lot of them were kind of like, oh wow, this is exciting, and a lot of other them were like, we know. Yeah, they knew. So yeah, just did it kind of like, well, oh, it's my birthday, and also I'm bi, and just kind of like slipped under. And I think they noticed. But it was nice to kind of act as the community that I've created. I've always wanted to be as accepting as possible, and I think this is like a flagstone to be able to be like, yes, we do support everybody of all types, and so you are absolutely welcome here. And so it's nice to be that kind of milestone, have that in your life moment. So yeah.
For me, it was sort of, I'd always been making content, and when I was younger, I used to kind of have the mentality, or when I'd kind of sort of come to terms with being gay, it was like, I didn't want people to see my videos or think of me and be like, ah yes, it's that gay man. I wanted them to be like, that's that Scottish man that's sometimes funny. But eventually, it's sort of my mindset changed because obviously my audience started growing, and I started thinking like, well, if I can like make one person who watched my videos feel comfortable with themselves, which wasn't something I had a lot growing up. Like my closest healthy representation of in media was Glee, which wasn't the best. There were some problematic options there, but my sort of thing was just if I was able to make someone else feel like, yeah, that's actually okay, and you can be gay, and you can still do things, and that sort of, and like have a life and friends and a career, was sort of the reason that I decided, like, you know what, I'm doing it for my audience that I care about rather than for myself. And the community was very, very nice. I generally don't think I ever got like any negative feedback at the moment when I did it. So it's just been a nice ride from there. So. We'll go back down this way, but off of just what I said, like, how old were you when you sort of realized that you were part of the community? Obviously, to whatever degree. For me, it was sort of, I grew up going to church in, like I say, my religious family, and it was always told, like, gay's bad, don't do it. So it was a lot of sort of turmoil with that, but I think probably when I sort of started to come to terms and accepted it was maybe when I was around, like, 17, was quite late in, when I was like, you know what, this is it, if people don't like it, too bad. And it sort of spiraled from there, and now I'm just extra gay. So
aggressively gay.
Yeah, just even fruitier as the years went on.
I don't think I had an exact moment where I ever thought to myself like, oh yeah, I'm bisexual. I think like as I grew older into my upper teenage years, I remember having conversations with my friend being like, well, men are very attractive, and they would be like, yeah, and I'd be like, yeah, but they're like really attractive, and they were like, yeah, and I kind of explained the extent to which I found men attractive, and they were like, yeah, okay. Oh, and you should probably have a think about this. I grew up in a very religious family where the topic was never really brought up, but it wasn't ever something that I kind of had that trauma in. And so being religious myself, it was like, when it happened, I was just like, oh, this is like a part of who I am, and these things kind of coexist. And that is just like part of my identity. So it's been a really interesting going through my adult life, and especially kind of growing up and being more public about it, kind of having that relationship with those two kind of striving together. But it was exciting to kind of like go on that journey of self-discovery, and it's all been positive, so yeah.
Yeah.
I think when I started realizing I maybe wasn't as much like other people was in high school. I went to a very Catholic school, and the teaching was abstinence, which at the time I was like, great, because I wasn't at a point where I even wanted to think about that whole world of things yet. I felt like too much of a baby, and I just didn't feel like it was a world I felt comfortable in understanding yet. And I think more in my 20s, like 21, I think is the age that I remember I was typing into Google different questions, and that's how I came to the word asexuality, and I found asexuality.org, and I was finding other people that were explaining all of the different facets of what it means to even be on the spectrum of asexuality, and being demisexual and gray asexual. And I'm so glad that I found that forum, because now, many years later, I'm very, very comfortable talking about all of the different things that I've learned about it.
So for me, it's always been kind of like in the back of my mind, like I never thought of it oh my gosh, sorry about that. Okay, sorry, I just thought of like 3 sentences at the same time. That just, I had to pick one, and I was like, wait, none of these make any sense. Anyways, yeah, I think at the age of 16, I was really thinking about the idea of maybe liking guys as well. And then I think that was the age where I pulled a heart stopper. I did the quiz.
Oh yeah, I did the quiz. So many quizzes.
It was a high percentage. And then yeah, that's my story.
So for me, I think it was a little different because I always grew up knowing I liked girls. I was in an all-girls school. I always had girls' childhood crushes, and in that all-girls school, there were a lot of girls who were like, no, I don't like girls. Girls are awful. And then the other part are, girls are really attractive. Guess which part I was? But yeah, so for me, it was never something different. And then my mom also is really open. So I could just talk to my mom like, hey, Mom, I met this girl at school, and I think she's really cute. And my mom would be like, oh, that is so great. So I was very lucky and fortunate that I had people in my life who never made it out to be something different or something weird. So, yeah.
So I would say I started to realize around like 13 or 14. It was literally like I was thankfully I grew up with like my very, very supportive family, but it was never really an option for me, if that made sense. Like I was listening to it. I never thought in my mind like, what if this was me as well when I was like learning about it? Because the way that I actually learned that gay people exist in the first place was because I was really, really confused by Ellen, right? Because she was talking about her wife, and I was just like, that can happen? Like, I turned to my mom and I said that, and she was just like, oh yeah, no, like she's gay and everything. And I was just like, oh, okay, cool. And then for like the next like 7 years, I was just like, but that's not me though. And then I realized like, oh, that's why I like really, really like looking at superhero comics. That makes sense. But yeah, but I never really like fully came to terms with it. I would say like, not until I was like 16, 17. Because although my parents were thankfully very, very supportive, I didn't grow up in the most supportive environment outside of that. So I kind of internalized a lot, and I was just like, no, but that can't be me, you know. But then I just like kind of realized like, yeah, no, it is, yeah, yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, that's like pretty much how I figured it out, if that makes sense. Yay. Yeah.
So obviously being part of the community is something we all have in common, but the other thing is obviously we're Twitch streamers, and obviously with it being a Twitch panel, I feel like it should be a fun thing for us to sort of talk about what advice we would give someone who's maybe wanting to start making content, whether they're part of the community and they're worried about how to include that, if it's something they say, or even if they're not part of the community and you're just an ally, always an option. But Ranboo, do you want to start with that one?
Could you repeat it real fast? Sorry.
What advice would you have for someone who's looking to start making content on Twitch?
Start with content just in general on Twitch. I would say it's kind of like a similar thing that I said like a little bit earlier was just be mindful and be careful of how you will react to especially the lows of content creation because but sorry But especially the lows, because if you find that like you're like getting like really upset over these things that like you like either like shouldn't be checking, or things that you like check like excessively, that you just leave like feeling sad, then like you have to like kind of think in your mind, like, I have to be like mentally prepared for this. I have to be mentally prepared for the fact that like there will be a lot of eyes on you. They will try to like find a lot of things. They will try to like figure out like why were you sad on this one day, you know? They'll try to like essentially like give their opinion when, you know, it's just random stuff that they're trying to say, but then you'll take it to heart. So it's kind of like a good like metaphor that I came up for is, if I gave 100 people a megaphone, right? Eventually one person is gonna go into it and make a fart noise, right? Because that's just what happens when you give anyone the chance to say anything. They're just gonna say random crap about like, that doesn't even matter, that they might not even like believe, but then you'll see it and then you'll take it in as like, this is true. When in reality, it's just not. So I would say just be mindful of that, and especially of other people's opinions on you, especially if you want to get like further into the public eye.
Well, I'm not that insightful. I was, while he was talking, I was like, oh my God, I need to come up with something really good. But what I can give out there to people, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't hold myself to it, but when I started growing and tried to grow as a content creator, I did, and that is consistency. Because without consistency, you won't grow. Without your audience knowing when you will be there and where you will be, you won't grow, and people will forget about you. So one thing, if you want to grow, is consistency. And if you can't keep up with it, then be open about it. Because if you just disappear, people will just think like, oh, they're gone. You know, so, yeah.
So I would say, if you are trying to start content, whether it's on YouTube or Twitch, think about what type of content that you're making, and then find the community. Well, I think the community, I remember in this, I'm going to steal Jack Manifold's thing from what he said from VidCon all the way on the other side of the world. But he said that the community will find you if you are involved in it, if that makes sense. And when you're involved in it, then you will have people that you could talk to, collaborate with, and maybe put two minds together or more to make something amazing off of that community. And I think that's very important. Build a community with communities.
The advice that I usually always give when I'm asked this on stream is that find the thing that you are passionate about, and that is the reason you want to share it with people. Because when you start the journey of streaming, there's no guarantee and there's no way of knowing where that'll take you. But if you have that thing that drives you, that you love, and you're excited about sharing it, that's the most important thing. And then, like Harvey said, your community will find you. And there's always people out there that are like-minded, that will like the things that you like, and focus on that.
My tip, if someone were to say, do you have any tips for starting content creation, and they haven't started yet, my go-to in chat is to say, start. There are hundreds of things that you're going to get wrong within that first year and onwards. You will not be able to start creating content until you actually give it a go. In all of these things, it's welcome. Like, it's great to kind of prepare and know what you want to do, but until you hit that go live button, you have no idea what it's going to feel like. And also, save your first VOD. You don't have to make it public, but if you keep hold of that, it's a nice thing to look back on afterwards, and a lot of people lose theirs, as I did, and it's a shame to not have that as like a memento to see how far you've come in a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. I think kind of like reiterating like Owen's point there, like whenever someone asks me, I always just sort of reply with like, just do it. There's never going to be the perfect moment. There's never going to be the wait for the perfect piece of gear or the mic or the camera. Like, there's always going to be something that if you do that's holding you back from starting it. And we all started from nothing and built up. Everyone has to have an awkward phase. Like, I unlisted all of my original videos because those were cringe. But I think it's just sort of starting and also doing it for the right reason. Like, doing streaming especially is very, very hard. It's, as Ranboo said, it's a constant up and down. There's low moments. And I think if you're doing it because it's something you're passionate about and something you want to share with an audience and like create a community, it's a lot easier to get through those low moments, where if you're doing it because you just want to be famous or you want this thing, you're caring about numbers and money and all that, it's a lot easier to weigh yourself down with that. And also that's, again, another point, I think ignore the numbers. It's doing social media stuff often gives you a really warped sense of numbers. Like, if you looked at the amount of people sat in front of us right now, like, this is insane. Yeah, but like, if you see it as a number, it looks a lot smaller, like, if you put it down. So thank you all for coming and showing up in person today. So, back to the gay, as we should. So, was there anyone or anything that you looked up to growing up? So, obviously for me, as I said, my sort of representation that I got was either John Barrowman in the UK, or Glee was my sort of first experience to being gay, and like seeing a semi-healthy gay couple and be like, okay, that's actually like, you can do that. And I had the biggest crush on Blaine from Glee growing up, and it was something where like that was sort of, before that I didn't really have a lot of representation, because back when, oh God, I'm old, but back when I was a child or young growing up, like YouTube wasn't a thing, there wasn't content creators that were doing that, and I think it was also still a lot more of a, like, you kind of kept that private, people didn't need to know. So I think for me it was that media, and it's really nice sort of growing up and seeing things like Heartstopper nowadays that's being made, and it's showing in a nice way, like a healthy, positive way to be gay, and it's not we're just the token gay best friend or the person that's just constantly going about from person to person. It's nice, like, showing a healthy, like, we're just normal people who happen to also like people that are the same as us, like, so that was for me.
Yeah, growing up, I grew up a lot on YouTube. It was kind of like fostered me a little bit alongside my parents, for good or bad, really. And I think there was an element where, because I hadn't ever considered that I was bi until later on into my adult life and really only came out recently, it wasn't something that was ever at the forefront of my mind to struggle with. So when I saw people in the LGBT community who are on media, there wasn't in my mind like, oh, they're me, that's me kind of thing. So there wasn't ever really anyone that I can think of that would, like, I would act as like a keystone to that. But there were a lot of Minecraft content creators, Captain Sparkles and Yogscast, who I looked up to as just respectable people that treated everyone with like love and kindness and a level of maturity that I really enjoyed. So I'd look to them as like fostering into a hopefully good person. So yeah, that's me.
For me, sadly, there was no representation when I was growing up. Especially when I was growing up, I think asexuality was even more unknown than it is now, which is still pretty unknown. But there are a lot more ace characters popping up in media, like in movies and TV, that I'm so excited about. And that's another reason why I wanted to come out, was that maybe I could be that for a few people. That's it.
So I was playing COD for my childhood, but I would say I haven't been reading or looking into like the representation stuff up until like very recently, and I really liked Heartstopper, and I really liked Given. Has anyone read or watched Given? I love Given. I listen to the soundtrack all the time, and also Sasaki and Miyano. Such good pieces of work, and I think, although I haven't grew up with it, I'm kind of like delving myself into like the rabbit hole of like really cool works, LGBTQIA plus works, and it's been really cool so far.
Yeah, so I also didn't really grow up with any representation, but I also feel like we didn't have that much representation. Obviously, you had like women kissing in music videos and women kissing on TV, but it was always more a fetish thing. Mm-hmm. And I feel like nowadays we're way more open to just having it as like a romantic thing. And yes, it can be a relationship that is respectable. And I'm really glad that we now are starting to get media that does respect us as women who love women. But yeah, growing up, it always felt kind of dirty. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I didn't really have much growing up.
For me, it was mainly content, like just like different content creators that I would watch. Because especially when I was still going through like that like period of my life where I was just like, no, but it's like not and everything. I would find myself like watching everything and then like relating to a lot of the things that they said, and then I was just like, well, okay, I'll think about that, later. But I remember the biggest like example of like when like representation really affected me was when I was really adamant to my mom about going to see Love, Simon when it came out, and she was confused as to why. Thank you, Mom, you knew before I do, but but she was like really confused as to like why and everything. And then I remember that I was just like at the end of it, I was just full on like crying, and then my mom like turned over and she was like, now, why is that happening? And then that's when I like kind of like started to come to terms with it and everything. So I'd say that definitely, yeah, like that type of like representation, like even if it's just showing something that's not like regularly shown, can like help wonders.
Yeah. Just when you mentioned Love, Simon, it gave me flashbacks to watching it on a plane. Don't do that. Bad plane movie. People will be aware that you're sobbing. So again, we'll start down at Ranboo for this one. So mainly just because your streams. But have you played any games that made you feel represented, or how you were able to represent yourself?
Listen, okay. Hold on. We'll see. Okay. I feel like that one was targeted. I'm gonna be real.
What, me? Never.
Well, most of the time when I play games, I instead make them represent me in the sense of I will just excessively flirt with any main male character, no matter who it is, and I would say like it's like the completely wrong type of game, but like Resident Evil, like because. Hold on, because like on stream and everything, like before I actually came out, it was really actually genuinely helpful for me, because like that was like me like in like the final terms of like coming to terms with it, when I was just like, if I can like be comfortable with this on stream, then I can be more comfortable like with myself as well. So actually by doing those like bits and everything, by doing those jokes, that helped me like become more confident in it and become like more comfortable with my sexuality. So yes, Resident Evil actually genuinely very much helped me out. Woo!
I think so. Again, growing up, I don't think I had any games that really represented me, but I've recently replayed/played Life is Strange and all the Life is Strange. And they're a good representation.
I mentioned the game earlier, COD. But I'd say for the majority of my time playing video games, it's just been like Minecraft and like Fortnite. Yeah. I mean, the closest, I don't know if I want to make that joke. It's going to be something about building a shape, but that's... It was a square. I'll talk about a square. It was a square. But I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say the game itself was representing the community, but more like just me playing with people who are in the community, and we have something to play with. So yeah, that's the closest for me.
No, there were no games with ace representation. I guess I could load up The Sims and make the choice to not woohoo, but although I guess there is, I had thought, I play TTRPG games, like tabletop role-playing, D&D, and other systems. Woo! You could be whoever you want in those games, so that's a great way to be your own representation in a made-up world that you do with your friends. And I did make a decree that every character I've ever played is ace, so those ones are out there.
I just play Minecraft. It's literally the only game I play. But we do, the team that I work with do a lot of like story writing. And it's interesting that you mention about being your own representation, because while we aren't our characters and we make that distinction, we are able to represent people in the community by being characters of certain sexualities. My friend Apakuna plays a character who is gay. And so that acts as a character who people are able to look to and be like, I am represented in this media form that I enjoy. So you can kind of use Minecraft to be your own representation, which I've always really enjoyed about the game. So yeah.
Yay. I think like growing up or like thinking back, one of the games that for me had the most like representation, or it wasn't even representation as much as it was like they just didn't stop you from doing it, was like The Sims, where like I remember the first time having like a best friend that's also a guy on The Sims, and it came up with the woohoo option, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, this is allowed? Like, am I bro? Is this illegal? It feels illegal. And I think also the other game that I can think of was like Stardew Valley was also the same, where it's just like, here's lots of people, and you can choose to love whoever you want or all of them, but it's up to you. Like, you're able to work your way through, and it was like nice having. I think the thing with a lot of games is they feel like they need to force representation or put it in. It's like, we don't need that. We just need you to take the lock off and just let us do what we want. We don't need to be forced into it. Like, here's your one gay person. You can just give us options and be like, anyone, do what you want. Like, it's fine. And I think that's something that those two games that I mentioned definitely helped me come to terms with, of like, okay, this is actually a fine way to do it. Plus, Minecraft, you can pretend what you want. So. So last question, just before we open to questions from all of you lovely people. So how have all of us have obviously spoken and told about how we came out, and we've come out at different times in our lives and things, and I'd like to just obviously talk about how we have found life being openly out compared to before you did. I know for myself it was something that being gay on my channel and the way I made content was often, the way I kind of had it was like, if you were above the age of about 16, you could tell, because I would make innuendos or jokes here or there. But I never blatantly said it, kind of thing. And I think as soon as I did, it just felt I was able to be more free. And as I said, I became prettier every year as it went on, because I was able to make more and more jokes. And now I have several husbands online that I flirt with regularly. And if you have notifications on for my tweets, I'm so sorry. There is no shame now. It might be a bad thing. But I think for me, it's that. And I think also, in a funny way, like, I get a lot more really cool opportunities now because I'm openly gay, and I think the world is changing into that way where they're looking for that. Like, we wouldn't get to be doing this panel if we weren't all openly gay now, and I think that's a really cool thing to get to share with us and with all of you. So thank you.
Well, I kind of came out twice somehow. So I came out online to all of you, and then, rightly so, one of you went and changed my Wikitubia web page to mention that I had come out as bi, and I was sat next to my dad a couple of weeks later, who did not know, and was Googling me to see various things I had done in my life, and he was like, that's crazy. They were super supportive and very accepting. I think they were more shocked when I got a helix and when a helix piercing than when I became out as biased. That was really nice. It's interesting that you say, like, being able to be more comfortable on stream as it. Like, I feel like I'm not having to kind of skirt around the issue and be like, oh, we'll talk about that another time, which has been really nice. When did you come out again? How long ago was it?
2018?
2018. Yeah, so this is 1 month on coming out, and this is 4 years on coming out, so you can see where I'm aiming.
All goes downhill.
Yeah. So yeah, that's me.
For me, it's probably just, I love that I have the option on stream to talk openly about asexuality, to teach people, because so many people don't know about it. And also, I love just opening the floor to the conversation about sexuality, because then I get to learn so much that I didn't know before. That's it.
That's enough.
So I'm the same with Shub. With opening up the floor and everything. I think it's really good that I think one of the cool things about being open is that if, let's say, like, your friend or your mom or anybody that you know or anyone that wants to talk to you about that thing, then you could give them your perspective on that. And I think being open is like, oh, I know this person that's gay or bisexual or asexual, etc. And then you could go up to them and you could talk to them and conversate about it. instead of going on Twitter and, I don't know, like arguing or something. I don't know. But for me, I was going to say something. Oh, yeah. So for me, I think coming out is kind of like, it's like a crepe or like a cake. There's like multiple layers. I think you first come out to yourself and well, this is for me personally. I started by coming out to myself, obviously, and then I eventually worked my way up, talking to like close friends, and then family, and then the parents, and then publicly. And ever since then, it's been I just feel a lot more free and a lot more open, and I'm happy that I'm available to talk and conversate with people about it that would want to learn more.
I'm super sorry, but I didn't understand the question.
It said, have you found life being, I mean, for you, obviously, you're saying you were, like, always kind of thing, but it's like, did you find life differently being openly out onto your audience compared to before you did?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, for me, it's just, that's the thing. I feel like some people do expect me that I'm just straight, because that's sadly still the default, but I don't mind proving them wrong. You know, for me, it's yeah, for me, it's more a thing of like, that's me, that's always been me, I'm comfortable with it, and if you're not, then fuck off.
For me, I would say the biggest thing that changed after I came out and everything was that, honestly, I became a lot happier. I think no, because, oh wow, that's going to be such a mood change when I bring this up. So, I dealt with a thing ever since I started to like fully solidify it in my mind at like, I think like mid-quarantine is when I kind of started to be like, okay, can't run away from it, like this is most likely what it is and everything. I dealt with for like that entire time, probably up until I came out on Twitter, was in a lot of internalized homophobia, where essentially it would stress me out. Like even like the bare like mention of it would like make me panic. Like I would avoid it completely. I would avoid saying gay completely on stream, to the point where it was just obvious that I didn't. But I think being able to come out and then be able to be comfortable with it, not only was I comfortable expressing it, but then I also finally became comfortable with myself in a sense. So it was like kind of like that like last step, if that makes sense. It was kind of that last thing that I needed to do in order to become happy with myself, essentially. Yeah.
So, as I said, that is the last of my questions for these lovely folks, but now we will open it up to if any of you have any questions you would like to ask. Oh, there's so many hands up. We'll start on this and we'll work our way over. So do you in the audience at the side?
Hi. I just wanted to ask, because Scott, you raised this. You said you a lot of gay representation in video games in Stardew Valley, and now I've got to know, who did you all marry in Stardew Valley if you played it? Just got to know, I will be judging you harshly.
I'm really bad with names in general. I think, is Alex the sort of like rugby boy, like football player-y one? That was mine. That was what I went for.
Is Penny the redhead? The marriable redhead? Yeah, it was that one. But not a day goes by where I wish I couldn't marry Willie the fisherman. He is, oh, what a man. He's so lovely.
Originally, I married Sebastian, but now I'm in year 4, and I kind of regret it a little bit. He's not that great of a husband after all. He doesn't do anything around the house. And now I wish I married Abigail in that one. But I married Harvey in another one, and he's kind of really underrated.
Wait, what was the question?
Who would you marry in Stardew Valley?
Oh, I've never played that game before.
Oh, okay.
I shall play it now.
I'm a Sebastian girl all the way.
I haven't played that game that much, so I haven't gotten to that point.
You would be a Sebastian girl as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name's Georgenotfound. I'm aware that... Sorry. Haven't got my words. Just give me a second. I know Twitch has had a lot of problems with hate raids, and particularly of people hate piling on LGBTQIA plus streamers. Do you as content creators feel safe, or have said safe since Twitch has tried to address this? And if not, what do you think Twitch could do more to kind of address these issues to make you feel safe as content creators? Thank you.
Good question. What do you want to take it? I mean, for me, I'm very fortunate where I have a very good mod team. Also, love to all the mods of Twitch. You're godsends. We couldn't do what we do without you, so thank you for that. And I feel like there's definitely stuff that could be done. I think punishing the streamers who are actively doing those with bans and timeouts and like warnings is definitely something I think Twitch could do more. I think the tools are there for us to do the work, which obviously isn't always fair if you need to work to stop people being mean to you, but I think that sort of thing is it's there. It's just it's a difficult way, or it's awkward to do, which it shouldn't be. But
shout out to all the mods out there, though.
The mods. The literal sword icon for the mod is very accurate. Anyone else have anything to add to that, Nikki?
So what we do in this community is we have Philza Minecraft.
Yeah.
And Philza Minecraft, Philza will cross-ban every weirdo across our channels.
Yep.
So they won't even try, which is really good for us. We're really fortunate. But I also do see it's a problem, and it's a big problem, and I'm glad that Twitch is addressing it. And I do think we need to enforce rules harder when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah. Next question, person in orange.
Hi, Shelby. I want to say I watch you over 7 years now, so I think you're great.
Wow. Thank you.
I actually forgot my question.
Oh
no. What's the difference between, like, a lot of you also on YouTube, what's the difference between Twitch and YouTube?
Ooh.
Okay, good. I mean, for me, obviously, I feel like when I do YouTube, it's a lot more edited and well presented, and it's a lot more sort of curated type content. Whereas for Twitch, it's a lot where I can be a bit like more relaxed and funny and make innuendo jokes that I wouldn't make in videos, and be a bit more flirty with my friends and that sort of thing. Where it's a bit more casual, it's a bit more me, is sort of like. Whereas YouTube is a sort of well presented me, and then Twitch is the more real me. So that's it for me. The differentiation.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. There's an element where when you go live, you can kind of let your guard down a little bit more in terms of not having to constantly be, if I ask questions, constantly having to refine retention and constantly think about like what's the most interesting thing you could be doing at any exact moment when you're on YouTube. When you kind of go live on Twitch, there's that moment where people kind of come in and you greet them and then they like sit down metaphorically and you enjoy talking to them. So I think it feels a lot more personable, which I think is what makes Twitch. That kind of idea of getting to like hear about people's days and talk to them and share stories that you wouldn't get an opportunity to do on YouTube. So yeah, I think that's a key difference.
Yeah, Twitch for me is definitely a place to be more casual and like to just be a little bit more comfortable with being yourself in front of people. And I definitely steal ideas for the YouTube videos from my chat, so they help me kind of bounce ideas around. But YouTube is a place where I get to be a little bit more, I get to kind of create a little episode of something. I could be more creative in how I edit it, the style I choose. I could be a little bit more experimental in the kind of stories I want to tell. And I love having the two.
So I've done plenty of YouTube videos over the years, and 2 years worth of Twitch content. I would say even on YouTube streaming versus Twitch streaming, I think the main big difference from my experience is the user interaction, or like the viewer interaction. You could get it live and you could have more different ways to interact with your viewers, even versus YouTube streaming. And I think that's the main difference from what I've experienced so far. I
I agree with everything. I don't think I have much to add. I just really like the instant feedback that Twitch chat gives you. That's good. Yeah.
YouTube. So I'd say when I uploaded, I think the biggest difference between the two is while live streaming is more like personable, you get to like have more of a community. You get to see like live reaction to a joke that you make. So you're just like, was that funny? Yes, no. Are they lying to me? Maybe. But I would say the best thing about the difference, like the big difference in YouTube is that when you actually like finish and upload a video, you feel more proud of it. Honestly, I would say that like when I like uploaded like a video and it started to like do well and then like I felt like really proud of it. That was just like an amazing feeling that I don't think like Twitch was able to replicate in that sense. But then there's also times where like I'll have like a really good stream and then I'll just like feel really good after that. So I think that YouTube is more for like the creative project side because you're able to like undo things, you're able to edit things out. While Twitch is mainly for like the community and for you to be able to like open yourself up to more people.
In the back, in the white t-shirt with the pink hair. Oh. Both, we'll do both.
Hi. Ooh, God, that's loud. As someone who's bi, I'm mostly female, sometimes I feel myself, especially when I have like an attraction to a guy, I think, am I really gay? Am I just faking it? Am I a fraud? And I just wondered if any of you have ever like, experienced that and how you kind of handled it and like your own self-doubt with it and everything. Thank you.
Well, I've had attraction to both, of course. Whenever I think of when I'm like attracted towards a guy or a girl, I always tell myself it's both. And I see a lot of people who have this, what is it called? Biphobia towards like people who are like, oh that there's like a person that's bisexual that's dating a guy and she's a girl. Oh, that's like they invalidate that. And I think at the end of the day it's both. I think I drill it to my head. Even if as many biphobic people out there that like tell you no, it's not, it's this, it's that, it's both. Both.
I think kind of going off of that, at the end of the day, like there's no correct or right or wrong way to be gay. You can be gay however you want. If you want to be a little bit gay, if you want to be a lot of bit gay, either work. And I think obviously sexuality is a spectrum. And if you find yourself like, am I because it's a man? Like, no, like I think you're still the part of the community that you feel comfortable with, and obviously labels are also for yourself. They don't need to match what other people's expectations are. It's not like being bisexual has to be a 50-50. It's up to you. You can read 70-30 or whatever. Like I think there's just no right or wrong way to be gay, and I think do what makes you comfortable and feel like secure in that.
I think in my young adult life, there were only younger adult life, there were few specific moments in which I presented themselves to me to give me the opportunity to think, am I actually bi or not? And these were very few and far between. And only recently have I ever been able to say that, no, even if there is no action, even there is no cause, that doesn't invalidate you anymore. You can be bi and never act on those actions or wants or desire. You don't need like a monument to point to and be like, this is what proves that I'm bi. You can just be bi and be perfectly happy with that label without having to justify it to anybody or yourself in terms of acting in a certain way. So yeah.
I want to add, I'm not bi, but I have definitely felt the gay imposter syndrome being an ace, and you never really quite feel LGBT enough, but knowing that you don't have the same heterosexual experience, that is where all of the rest of us belong, so.
Do you have anything to add?
Yeah. So I would say that at the end of the day also, there's really no one that you have to prove it to, right? At the end of the day, you don't really have to like force yourself like, oh, is this who I am or is this who I am? Like, or am I like lying about like being this? When in reality, there's really no one else that you have to prove that to. If you like feel this way, then you shouldn't have to feel bad for just naturally feeling a certain way, either towards someone or about yourself. So really, there's no added pressure to immediately also get it right the first time. You might like experiment with different labels with yourself as well, and that's like completely okay. You may just never find a label that fits you, and you instead just live life like attracted to whoever you want, just living however you want, and that's also okay. So I would say that just trying to relieve some of that pressure also helps you find that label as well, in the sense of there's no rush. You don't have to, just because like someone else has a label that they're comfortable with, doesn't mean that necessarily you have to try to rush to find yours and then feel bad like, oh, what if I'm not this? When in reality, if anyone tries to like call you out for that, they're just a bad person. Like that's just not a good thing to do. So again, I'd say like the main point is that just there's no really pressure to figure things out. You can genuinely take your time with it, because like things may be able to like shift or something, and there's really just no pressure at all. So I think just remembering that is important.
I was also going to say what Ranboo said, but also I think that is one of the biggest issues that bisexual people have to deal with, and that is the judgment of other people and saying, oh, if you date a girl, you're lesbian, if you date a guy, you're straight. No. If I look into this direction, and if I look into this direction, that doesn't mean that Ranboo isn't here, is it? So, you know, just because you're looking into a different direction doesn't mean that the thing isn't there. It just means that you are looking into a different direction.
So I think we have time for one more in chat booth here in the hats.
Okay, so hi. I wanted to ask a question more connected to streaming. Mm-hmm. So obviously streaming comes with a lot of pressure and a lot of expectations. So how do you deal with burnout? Is there something specific that you do, or is it just like, what is it?
Cry. Lots of crying.
I think for me, a lot of the drive I have comes from being really passionate about what I do. And the prime example of that for me right now is like Empire's SMP, which is, thank you. It's something I just really love, and it kind of was an accident with Empires. Like it sort of turned into something we never planned it, and it almost became like a little mini D&D game that we all get to tell our own little stories and intertwine them and build things, and it's something where like finding something you're passionate about where it doesn't feel like work and it doesn't feel like a chore to stream or to do videos or that sort of thing. I think finding that niche and also surrounding yourself with people who are also doing same stuff or similar stuff. Like I constantly talk with Shelby about storylines and things, and we bounce off each other, or I constantly am watching Owen or Nikki's streams and I'm like jumping and I'm talking, we're playing things and doing stuff together as friends, and I think that kind of keeps you motivated. And also like coming to events like this where we see all of you and meet all of you, it constantly just fills my motivation bar. Like I love being here, but I'm also now like, now I want to stream more. So thank you for that's what it is for me.
Also breaks. Take breaks. I strictly 2 days a week at least. I will always make sure I don't do any work and I just relax. Those I learned are very important.
I would say for me, genuinely, like breaks are a good thing, especially, I remember the first time that I took a break after like 200 almost days of streaming every single day, that like, I was like, afterward I was just like, oh my God, this is like so much better. Like I feel so much relaxed, and I didn't realize that I was genuinely burnt out, but like I kept on like working through it, which wasn't good. And then I kind of like also had to take a really big break earlier this year, which also not only do breaks help you like kind of recover like from burnout in the sense, but they also help you kind of rethink and maybe like rethink like what type of content do you want to do? How do you want to do it? So if you like, because if you do content like really, really consistently, you might not see like much of a change that you might need to do. But then if you like take like a nice break and everything, and then you can realize like, oh, I really like maybe doing this instead, because it helps you get more of like an outside perspective when you're doing something. Yeah.
Well, sadly, that is all we have time for today, but thank you all for coming. Obviously, the amount of you that showed up is insane. It obviously helps us do what we do and shows that like there is an audience here for this type of thing, and also if we can get some cheers for the amazing panelists that we have here. They all did amazing, so thank you all so much. You can obviously all find us at our different Twitch channels where we'll be live eventually, so thank you, chat. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, chat booth.